A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to the first edition of the evening review for 2023, the year 2023, and we wish, of course, our viewers a very blessed and productive year ahead as we continue to engage. Tonight on the show we are joined by Loide Shaanika. She is the Secretary General of the Namibian National Teachers Union, NANTU. And today, earlier in the day, they held a press conference to pronounce themselves on the outcome of the national exams, whose results were just released recently. Loide, thank you very much for making time so early in the year.
Thank you very much for having me, and good afternoon to all the listeners.
Yes, you are actually our first guest of the year, so we are very humbled by that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Maybe just to start with, really, maybe your overall take as NANTU on the outcome, because everybody seems to have their own theories. There's a lot of finger pointing, a lot of fingers being pointed at your members, that is the teachers, including by the Minister of Education herself. Do you think that the teachers were to blame in this whole thing?
Yeah, thank you very much for the questions, but allow me first to also welcome our teachers to the 2023 academic year.
Wonderful.
As they are preparing and waiting for the learners to report on Wednesday, we would like to welcome them and wish them a very productive year ahead. Mm-hmm. Well, yes, to us as a union, the results are not surprising. This is the effect of the revised curriculum that was revised in 2015. By then, when the ministry was conducting the reviewing process, we vividly warned them, the Ministry of Education in particular, of the ambitious curriculum by then that they were reviewed. Mm-hmm. But what was actually worrying us as a union is the adequate financial resources that was not properly, allocated or provided. Mm-hmm. So by then we already knew that this will happen by the end of 2021, because this is the final year of the implementation of the curriculum throughout all the phases. Mm-hmm. So we are not surprised because, as I said already, we knew as a ministry, as well as NANTU and teachers, that there were no resources at school. But most importantly is that teachers who are the implementers of this curriculum were not properly trained. Mm-hmm. And what was also not sitting well with us is that they were also not properly consulted. Mm. You cannot expect a person to implement if you don't involve the person in the review process. Mm-hmm. So that for us, it was already an issue. And we have actually warned the government to say, if this is not in place, then we should not expect better result. Better result. Mm-hmm. This is the results now. So it is not a surprise to us because by then already we knew what was waiting for us in 2021. Let alone the disruption by COVID-19. Yeah, with the rationalized curriculum, working from home, and all that. Mm-hmm. So all that coupled to the shortcoming in terms of the resources contribute mainly to these results. Yeah.
You have mentioned in your press statement, of course, you have touched on the COVID situation, saying that there was no proper post-COVID assessment of how the pandemic has affected teaching. What should have been what should have they done as a government in that regard?
Look, we all know what COVID has cost to every one of us in this country, but particularly to the Ministry of Education, teachers and learners at schools, and Ministry of Health and Services. Those are the key ministries that were still on during COVID time, and we expected to deliver as normal. In our press conference today, we say we have lost about 200 teachers in the course of two years. 80% of our teachers were infected and affected by this COVID. After that, 2021, they were left alone. Nobody was worried about how on their well-being after COVID. You also know that the impact of COVID in terms of your mental illness,
Yeah.
we're saying it was very prudent for the Ministry of Education to provide psychosocial support to our teachers. So some are still recovering from the infection of the virus. Some are still living in trauma. Some are forgetting things because of this impact. So little has really been done to provide this kind of support to teachers, unlike to the learners, because you know the life skill teachers we have at schools are mainly providing these services to the learners and not to the teachers. So we said, with all this, a total human being, we needed to look at the teacher as a total human being and see, are we still able to perform after COVID, or what kind of assistance, like we said, the psychosocial support that actually the ministry could have. In fact, we have engaged them, and we are initially working on something with the Ministry of Education to make provision for qualified school counselors, because they need that healing process. So this is what we're expecting immediately from the Ministry of Education to be done for us to bring back the mental health of our teachers and learners.
Yeah. I mean, what worried a lot of people, perhaps including myself, is the diagnosis the diagnosis made by the Minister of Education. When she was announcing the results, she had a lot of things to say about teachers, about HODs, about school principals, going as far as saying that, you know, some of them are too much into politics. And people think that that's a misdiagnosis, that there are more serious issues that are causing this than this cosmetic identification of problems. What are your thoughts as NANTU on that?
Absolutely, you are correct. I think it's a misplaced statement by the minister. And with due respect, we are demanding an apology to teachers. Because irrespective of what the teachers, look, we have gone beyond the expectation of our parents during COVID-19. We did not expect such a statement from our minister. I've already said we have lost 200 teachers due to COVID. I've already said the mental health, they have suffered, and the lack of support. It's a reality, and I have pictures here. We visited 350 schools during COVID, and these pictures we have taken at these schools, one could not even think 15% could be the outcome. It could even be lower, but our teachers have gone extra miles, especially teachers from the rural schools. They go extra miles during holiday to provide extra classes, lessons, activities to the learners without even being paid for. Now they are calling us salary collectors. When they are failing to fund education adequately, we are saying, if you want good returns, you have to invest properly. Now, if they don't want to invest in education, this is the result that they will always be, getting. So all what we are saying is that it's that time for us to face the reality and address the challenges. They recently concluded the National Stakeholders Conference on Education in August last year. There were recommendations passed at this conference, and some of them are to address these shortcomings. All what we are saying or demanding as a union is that provide teachers with the right equipment. We will deliver. We have only 100 unqualified, but 99% of our teachers in the classrooms are well-qualified teachers. So if we don't support them, we'll continue getting this type of results. It's high time for us to, engage fruitfully, social dialogue, and
without calling each other names.
Without calling each other names. It will not help us. I'm saying charity starts at home. So, but if we are not serious with all these, addressing all these challenges, we'll we'll be sitting with the rest of our now with this kind of result. So, if you look at these pictures we have taken from the classes that we have visited, Jebela, I'm telling you, in some of the regions, we have observed that even the directors of education, they hardly visit schools to pick up these challenges. But us as a union, we have visited these schools.
Absolutely. Just speaking of investment, before we go on a break, I'll try to speak to my camera person to see if we can zoom into this later. But speaking of investment in education, the concept of free education, you know, people are told, parents are complaining, especially ahead of Wednesday, to say, oh, we are told it's free education. But the amount of money that we as parents are spending, stationaries, because free education should have implied that all these things are made easier. Some parents cannot afford these things. They send children to school without the right materials, and the end result of that could be failure.
Yes.
Your take on that?
Yes. I think the government and the ministry should really revisit that. In those pictures you see one class, 50 learners sharing one textbook.
Yeah.
The allocation of funds to schools is literally $100 per learner. And the list of the stationaries we receive from schools is literally $3,000 per learner.
Mm-hmm.
So you just see the imbalances. So that's why we say it's high time we come back to the drawing board, we look at the reality, and we address those challenges. If we don't, then let's forget about quality public education. So the free education, in so to say, yes, maybe provisional that there are classrooms. There are teachers in the classrooms.
Yeah.
But a teacher alone cannot perform without being assisted. Continuous development program to teachers, they have discontinued them. Somebody from the university, a new graduate, is left alone in the classroom without continuously being, assisted. And this is what we are talking about. It's not only about textbooks, stationaries, but it's about also equipping and equipping our classroom fully with relevant resources that assist the teachers to implement or to deliver the curriculum.
Absolutely.
In the absence of that, we'll forget.
Absolutely. We go for a quick break and return for the second part of the show.
Ohole So Nice is an entertainment show brought to you by the youth for the youth, aimed at having more young people showcase their individual identities. Making a good impression does not come easy. The nerves and the natural way youth interact when it comes to dating, well, this has changed over the years. This is a dating show that allows individuals to participate and be their own true selves. Ohole So Nice focuses on blind date, talk about that, news, flex your style, and more. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and on the MyZone Facebook platform. To share your experience or make your product or service part of Ohole So Nice, contact Zone at synergy.com.na. Ohole So Nice, because Sabawelling isn't enough.
We continue the conversation with Loide Shaanika. Now, Meme Loide, we are told that in the aftermath of these results, the president has demanded a report, I suppose, from the Minister of Education. As a stakeholder, a very key stakeholder in this process, what do you know about what is being asked of, what that report will entail, and have you been asked to make maybe some sort of inputs?
Yeah, I'm just a bit surprised, the request by His Excellency, but I think it's a good thing because probably we want to analyze what went wrong.
Yeah.
And but what is surprising is that we just recently concluded the National Stakeholders Conference in August.
Yeah.
The research we carried out in 2020, we presented that report at the national conference. We had a copy to the ministry. Office of the President was also part of the National Stakeholders Conference. So by this time, I hope his office could be very well aware of what are the challenges. But let me not jump the gun or the cut, but I think we appreciate if that the report is with the aim to address the challenges. And we are also requesting His Excellency to address them immediately before the school starts. Because if we don't really, receiving a report for the sake of receiving is something else. But we are saying is that coming the 11th of January, we do not want to see teachers still waiting for financial support or classrooms, empty classroom without adequate chairs or resources. But it should be a report that is actually demanded to address to address those shortcomings.
This I can't seem to locate it now here, but one of the things also that NANTU raised concern about is I suppose you guys call it a teacher to learner ratio.
Yes.
Where the union seems to have taken a stand and say, if the number is not within the prescribed policy, then we will tell our members not to bother themselves with that.
Yes. Today I've launched Operation NANTU on staffing norms. There are prescribed norms for our schools, 35 in primary and 30 in secondary. But what you find yourself, you'll see the pictures later, you find 55, you find 60, you find more than the prescribed norms. All what we are saying is that come 11th of January, and we are serious, this is long overdue. We are teaching overcrowded classrooms with little resources. And this is one of the contributing factors to the failure rate. So coming the 11th of January, the ministry and government is already informed. At all the platform we have been talking about overcrowded classroom, and nothing has been done. And that's why we are saying allocate resources, build more schools, recruit teachers. They are in the street, qualified, unemployed. So it's actually maximizing profit on cheap labor because it's giving our teachers stress. A language teacher marking 54 books as opposed to 30. So much of his time is spent on marking. So all what we are saying is that coming the Wednesday 11th of January, no teacher should accept a class more than beyond the norms.
Absolutely.
They are already aware. We did not need to inform them, but there is something that they have already promised to work on. So this year we are serious and we'll take it on. Our national leaders will start visiting schools next week to ensure that our schools is within the prescribed norms.
Yeah. You spoke earlier about the length to which teachers, a lot of teachers, especially in rural areas, have gone to just to make sure that the Namibian child is educated. I wonder where they got that motivation from, because I'm wondering if the issue of, because I know that NANTU and NAPU had also put up a big fight last year over salary increments of teachers. Teachers had gone for almost 5 years without an increment. Do you think that that could also affect, generally speaking, that it can also affect the motivation of teachers?
Yes, very much. But because of the passionate and love they have for the Namibian children, they go these extra miles. Creativity within our teachers. And this is what we need to appreciate, and not to call our teachers salary collectors. It's purely insult to us, and really, it does not motivate our teachers to go extra mile. I have already mentioned that they are doing this out of their own will, because of the passion and the love they have for the learners. So it's really demotivating. You have seen that we have gone, last year we have to go up to the polls to demand a salary increment. and of which only a 3% was granted to them. But despite that, it has not discouraged them. It has, but they still continue to put more effort.
Yeah.
So it's really, those are the issues that our government needs to look at, and our ministry needs to look at. They are those really that really go extra miles in order to make sure that the Namibian child, is receiving what they deserve.
Yeah. I think one of the things now that it has become a perpetual subject this time of the year. You know, we are complaining about children not passing in good numbers and all these things, and everybody had their own say. But we ought to reach a stage now where we say as a country that enough with talking. Now we are starting to see improvement, radical improvement, because if it's only 15% that passed this year, if next year it was, even if it was 18% next year, that's a very tiny marginal improvement. You want at least 40% as a start, and then eventually maybe only 30% of learners fail, but 70 passes or pass. Do you think now that if those things that you just mentioned earlier were implemented, the resources are availed, the policies are correct, all these interventions, do you think that next year, if government become really serious with this whole thing, that next year, this time, the language and tone will be different?
Very much. Everything is centered by financial resources.
Yeah.
If you want to do good, you need, I've already said, you have to invest into what you want to reap. If you do not want to spend, then this is what you are expecting. Of course, if schools are well resourced, you have seen private schools, they are very well resourced. Their performance is always outstanding. Yeah, but if the shortcomings are addressed, I don't think we'll be sitting here talking about results. Maybe we'll be sitting here and say, how best can we do more better again?
Yeah.
But if there are no allocation of resources, to be honest, our classrooms are empty. Teachers have become beggars, street collecting money all over to make sure that at least tomorrow he has got something to supplement to the teaching and learning in the classroom, of which was supposed to be the obligation and responsibility of the government and the line ministry. So we are just appealing to the government once again, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education, to have an open and transparent budgeting process. We want to be part of that process as well.
Yeah.
And to see what are the priorities in the budget of the ministry.
Yeah.
In some instances, we can say, baby, because we see people traveling around, our subject advisors hardly visit schools to advise and to provide that assistance to the teachers. Simply because they are being told there is no money, there is no transport. But you see people traveling overseas.
Absolutely.
Is that the priority to the ministry? So we want to have a transparent process and see what are the priority areas that are budgeted for in the ministry, in the ministerial budget.
Absolutely. The final question perhaps then, Loide, is what are your members telling you as a union about the situation around this new curriculum? It's very confusing, even for us as parents. You hear now these dual exit points. Some children only end up in grade 11, and the universities do not want to admit anyone from grade 11, and all these things, as if it's such a disjointed thing. UNAM is speaking this language, the schools are speaking this language, the government is speaking this language, and I can just imagine the space in which the teachers find themselves in amid all these contradictions. What are their thoughts around those issues?
Yeah, their thoughts, I've already said at the beginning, that during the review process in 2015, ministry failed to consult them and to hear from them, to get their input into the revised curriculum. That was a very important step to do. You cannot leave somebody out in the process, whereas you are expecting this person to implement what you are reviewing. Secondly, it is that when the review process started, it was immediately implemented without preparing them for the revised curriculum. And that's very, very important, because little or no training was done for them. Thirdly, we say it is the resources. Yes, there are subjects that were introduced, vocational subjects, for instance. The schools that offers these subjects, they don't have these facilities. These teachers are no way. When you go to schools that offer these subjects, they are being offered by pure artisans. Graduates from VTCs are in our classrooms, unqualified teachers. How do you expect these learners to perform? How do you expect best results? And that's why I said at the beginning already in 2015, we want the government to say, yes, the curriculum could be best, but if we are not ready in terms of providing adequate resources, it will not help us, it will not take us anywhere. So the one thing also, I think it was not properly popularized to the learners themselves. They find themselves in something that they have to go through, as well as the parents. So we are thinking that perhaps the ministry did not really go much to the regions and to the community to popularize and to advocate and to educate the parents and the learners and the teachers about the revised curriculum. So I think those are really the contributing factors of what we are, getting now in 2021, because it is the 2021 was the final years of the implementation throughout the all the phases.
Absolutely. Shaanika, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it, really.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, especially for being our first guest again. We cannot make that point enough. So for us, it's very, very important. So we wish you the best for the year ahead in your battle for your members, and hope to hear more from NANTU, because we need this kind of briefings from time to time, also to hear what you have to say.
Thank you very much. I just want to wish our teachers all the best. And that we are coming as of next week to visit all the schools and to make sure that everything is in place, is in place, and also to see what are the challenges, because we really want to take on the government this time.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
That has been tonight's show. Thank you for watching, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you.